Rebecca Manning, now 28, still experienced a sharp pain in her stomach as the end of the year approached. Sipping her cold coffee, she looked at her smartphone screen. 7 missed calls, all from her mother. Her apartment was small, but it was her own space. After graduating from university, she had just started working as a copywriter at an advertising agency, finally achieving financial independence. The job was busy but fulfilling. Having control over her own time was a luxury that, after years living with her family, seemed priceless. As she hesitated to answer the phone, Rebecca reminisced about past Christmases. They were supposed to be fun gatherings, but for her, they always followed the same pattern. While the adults laughed and shared wine, she was invariably tasked with taking care of her cousins. Over the years, it had become an obligation, a right her family took for granted without considering her feelings. Rebecca put down her coffee cup, took a deep breath, and answered the phone. "You finally picked up," said her mother, Debbie, her voice carrying its usual hint of mild reproach. "I called you several times. I was at work, Mom." In reality, she had noticed the calls after work was already over. She just wanted to delay talking to her mother. "What are your plans for Christmas?" Debbie asked. Her voice had a scheming tone, and Rebecca grew wary. Usual stuff, planning to go to the family home like always. "Well, this year is going to be a bit different." "What do you mean?" Rebecca frowned. "Aunt Sandra has come up with a wonderful idea. All of us adults are going on a Caribbean cruise from Christmas to New Year's Day. Isn't that great?" While she said all of us, it was clear Rebecca was not included. "Me too?" She checked. "Oh, about that." Debbie hesitated. "You have a different important role." Rebecca's stomach tightened further. "What role?" "Taking care of Nicole, Chris, and Alex. They're still too young for a cruise." "Wait, so you want me to look after an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old for a whole week while everyone else sunbathes and sips cocktails in the Caribbean?" "Don't put it like that. You get along well with the kids, and you don't have plans for Christmas anyway, right? Plus, you don't have your own kids, so this will be a good experience for you." Rebecca felt a shiver of anger. "Mom, I have my own life. I have plans with friends and work deadlines. But it's for the family. Besides, the tickets are already bought. They're non-refundable." Rebecca fought the urge to hang up, maintaining her composure. "When were you planning to consult me? Or did you assume I'd just agree? Of course I didn't think you'd say no. You've always been a good girl, always doing everything for the family. Mom, I'm not a child anymore." Rebecca spoke calmly. "I have the right to control my own time. I'm saying no." There was a pause on the other end. "Rebecca, don't just think about yourself. This is supposed to be a special vacation for the whole family." "Except for me," Rebecca retorted. "I can't believe your selfishness is ruining everyone's fun plans." "Selfish? You're the ones who planned without consulting me, expecting me to be happy to sacrifice a whole week. Isn't that selfish?" "That's enough. I'll get your father to call you. You'll listen to him." Before the call ended, Rebecca declared, "If I'm expected to babysit, I won't be coming home for Christmas." It was unclear if her words reached her mother. That night, Rebecca felt restless in her apartment. Her phone rang continuously with calls from her parents, all of which she sent to voicemail. There was also a short text from her Uncle Richard. "Rebecca, won't you think about the family?" She smirked with disdain. "In my family, thinking about the family always meant sacrificing myself to fulfill the wishes of others." Sitting on the sofa, Rebecca called her friend Gina. She was well aware of Rebecca's family situation. "So, are they trying to make you babysit again?" Gina asked immediately after answering the phone. "This time it's different." I said no. "I don't have to go along with what they decide on their own." "Good for you. You've always been too accommodating to them. You have the right to have time for yourself. But it seems they haven't given up yet, Rebecca sighed. My dad keeps calling. Don't answer, Gina advised. Your answer isn't going to change, right? They're just trying to change your mind. Thank you. I'm not wrong, am I? Absolutely not, Gina asserted. You're an adult. You have the right to have your decisions respected. After hanging up, Rebecca boldly answered a call from her father. Dad, my answer hasn't changed, she stated without preamble. Rebecca, James's voice was calm. We just want you to show some compassion for the family. Me, lacking compassion? You guys don't respect my time or plans. All right, let's spend this year apart then. But could you come just for Christmas morning? The kids really want to see you. Rebecca was skeptical, but her father's proposal sounded reasonable. All right, I'll come for Christmas morning only. But stop asking me to babysit. I promise. Thank you, Rebecca. After hanging up, Rebecca was slightly uneasy. It felt unnatural how easily her father had acquiesced. However, she was satisfied that she had made her boundaries clear. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, Rebecca kept contact with her family to a minimum. Only occasional text messages came through, and there was no more talk of babysitting. She was relieved, yet couldn't shake the suspicion that something was off. On Christmas Eve, before going to bed late, she texted her parents. I'll arrive around 11 tomorrow morning. Merry Christmas. The reply came quickly. It was from her mother. Understood, Rebecca. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Rebecca smiled. Her relationship with her family had been complicated for a long time, but she was ready to reconcile in the spirit of Christmas, while still maintaining her boundaries. The next morning, Rebecca woke up early, carefully wrapped the presents, and loaded them into her car. She had chosen the gifts for the children with special care. For Nicole, a set of the latest young adult novels; for Chris, a Lego set; and for Alex, the stuffed animal he had wanted. On the way to her parents' house, Rebecca felt calm. Christmas songs played on the radio, and she hummed along. Today will be a good day. A short visit, see everyone, hand out the presents, and then back to my own time. However, when she parked in front of her parents' house, something felt off. There was no sign of her parents' car, Aunt Sandra's, or Uncle Richard's. The house lights were on, but it lacked the usual Christmas buzz. Rebecca frowned as she approached the front door with the presents. The doorbell rang, and she heard little footsteps running. The door opened, and Nicole appeared. Rebecca, she exclaimed joyfully. You came. Of course, Rebecca smiled and hugged her. Merry Christmas, Nicole. Where is everyone? They all went out, Nicole answered innocently. Mom and Dad and the others went on a trip. You are going to take care of us, right? Rebecca froze. What did you say? Rebecca. Chris and Alex ran up and hugged her. Did you bring presents? Rebecca tried to smile at the children, but inside she was trembling with anger. Yes, of course. Let's bring these into the living room first. As she led the children to the living room, Rebecca looked around. The house was neatly decorated and presents were stacked under the Christmas tree. On the table, there were leftovers from breakfast and a note. While the children were engrossed in their presents, Rebecca picked up the note. To Rebecca, we left on the 9 a.m. flight. We prepared breakfast for the children. There is a week's worth of meals in the fridge. Please follow the instructions. Emergency contact numbers are also on the fridge. Put Alex to bed by 7 p.m. Nicole and Chris should go to bed at 8:30 p.m. With love, Mom. They had ignored Rebecca's clear refusal and tricked her into taking care of the children. The children innocently opened their presents, cheering. Rebecca knew it wasn't their fault. Her anger should be directed at her parents and her aunt and uncle. I need to make a call. I'll be right back. She went to the kitchen and called her mother's cell phone. After several rings, her mother finally answered. "Oh, Rebecca, have you arrived? How are the kids? What were you thinking?" Rebecca couldn't contain her anger. "How could you do something so underhanded after I clearly said no?" "Rebecca, calm down," Debbie said soothingly. "We knew you would come. You're a responsible person. I'm not your babysitter. I only said I'd come for Christmas morning. I never agreed to take care of the kids for a whole week. But you're there, aren't you? You can't just leave now. The kids are relying on you. This is clearly child neglect." Rebecca's voice turned cold. "Do you know what would happen if I called the police?" There was a gasp from the other end of the line. "You wouldn't do that, would you? Want to try me? If you're not back soon, the next call I make will be to the police." "Wait." Debbie panicked. "We're still at the airport. The flight hasn't left yet. Then cancel it and come back. I'm staying here for 1 more hour. If you're not back by then, I'm taking the kids to the police station." "Rebecca, please." 1 hour, Rebecca repeated and hung up. With her heart pounding, Rebecca returned to the children. "Hey everyone, your dad and the others will be back soon. Why don't we have some fun until then?" The children eagerly agreed. Rebecca played board games with them, read Christmas stories, and ate cookies. She made sure not to let her anger show to the children. 45 minutes had passed since her ultimatum. She was contemplating whether she should really call the police. But it turned out to be unnecessary. 50 minutes later, she heard cars approaching, and from the window, Rebecca saw her parents' car and the cars of Aunt Sandra and Uncle Richard arrive. "Look, everyone's back." The children ran excitedly to the door. She grabbed her bag and watched as the children reunited with my parents and aunt and uncle. "Rebecca." Debbie approached her. "I don't need an explanation. I'm leaving." "But it's Christmas," Debbie pleaded. "Let's spend time as a family." "Family? Now I know what you think of me. Just a convenient tool. Don't use me ever again." She said goodbye to the children and quietly left through the back door. Before getting into her car, she noticed yelling coming from inside the house. It was James scolding Debbie and Sandra. Rebecca took a deep breath and drove off. Her heart was a mix of anger and sadness, but she also felt a strange sense of liberation. She had finally stood up for herself. The day after Christmas, Rebecca spent a quiet morning in her apartment. She responded promptly to messages from friends, but did not reply to any from her family. After the events of the previous day, she wanted to keep her distance. However, in the afternoon, while casually checking Facebook, her heart clenched with anger. Her mother, Debbie, had posted, "It was a sad Christmas. It hurts to know someone doesn't care about their own family." The children were disappointed, and the plans were ruined. "I never thought our family bond could be so fragile." The post had many comments. "What a pity, Debbie. The younger generation lacks responsibility. They can't even think about the children. Family is the most important thing. It's sad when someone doesn't understand that." Trembling, Rebecca took screenshots. Her mother had not named her explicitly, but it was clear the post was about her, and it completely twisted the truth. Driven by anger, Rebecca composed a lengthy post on her own Facebook page. "It's time to set the record straight. Yesterday, I visited my family home for Christmas. However, upon arrival, my parents, aunt, and uncle had already left for vacation, expecting me to take care of 3 children for 1 week. This was despite my explicit refusal. I threatened to report them for child neglect, and they reluctantly returned. I have been accused of not caring about my family. In reality, it is they who do not respect my time and choices. I am neither their toy nor a free babysitter available at their convenience. Family is about mutual respect. One-sided demands and manipulation do not qualify as such. Publishing this might irreparably damage her relationship with her family. But she felt a need to speak the truth. With trembling fingers, she pressed post. The reactions were immediate. First, Gina commented, "You did the right thing." Then, messages of support from other friends followed. Surprisingly, responses from her family also began to arrive. The first reply came from her grandfather, Frank. "Rebecca, can you call me? We need to talk." Shortly after, her grandmother Barbara commented, "Debbie, James, Sandra, Richard. I am disappointed in you all. You should apologize to Rebecca." Knowing that her respected grandparents were on her side provided Rebecca with some relief. She quickly called her grandfather. "Rebecca," his voice was warm. "That was rough." "Yes, Grandpa. It was really awful. I've spoken to Debbie. Her actions are inexcusable, as are James's. Sandra and Richard are also equally to blame. Everyone's blaming me. Like I'm the villain. They are wrong," her grandfather stated firmly. "You only protected your rights as an adult." Their actions were also irresponsible towards the children. "I don't know what to do. Keep your distance for now. They need time to reflect. Your grandmother and I will handle things appropriately with them." Rebecca thanked her grandfather for his support and hung up. However, her relief didn't last long. That night, her social media overflowed with criticism from her family. Debbie accused Rebecca of shamelessly airing family issues in public. James advised Rebecca to grow up. Sandra and Richard blamed her for betraying the family. Then, a wave of critical comments from other cousins, aunts, and uncles followed. At the same time, Rebecca's post unexpectedly spread further. Not only her Facebook friends but also their friends shared it, and many people sympathized with her situation. "I've had similar experiences. Just because they're family doesn't mean you have to continue a disrespectful relationship, and you acted correctly," were among the hundreds of supportive comments she received. All night, Rebecca's smartphone kept buzzing with notifications. Eventually, she turned it off and went to sleep. The next morning, she was woken up by a call from Gina. "Rebecca, things have blown up. Your post is being shared everywhere. Some blogs have picked up your story." "What?" Rebecca rubbed the sleep from her eyes and quickly turned on her phone. Notifications flooded in, and she was overwhelmed. Her post had been shared thousands of times, and many people shared their similar experiences. Several online news sites even picked up her story, discussing family boundaries. She had wished to remain anonymous, but the situation had spiraled beyond her control. "I didn't intend for this. But a lot of people are resonating with you," Gina said. "The experience you shared is something many have silently endured." That afternoon, another shocking development occurred. Her mother Debbie posted anew. "I need to clarify the situation. My previous post was emotional. My husband, my brother-in-law, and I had unfair expectations of our daughter Rebecca. We did not respect her wishes and tried to use her as a free babysitter. Her reaction was completely justified. Henceforth, I publicly apologize here." Rebecca was astounded. Her mother apologizing publicly was unthinkable. But the reason soon became clear. Rebecca received a text message from her grandfather. "Debbie and I spoke. Their behavior was shameful. Your parents, Aunt Sandra, and Uncle Richard have agreed to publicly apologize to you, Rebecca. However, I feel that this is not enough. They have been using you for a long time. I think we should consider taking this matter to a legal standpoint." Rebecca frowned. A legal standpoint? She thought that might be going too far. However, her opinion quickly changed. That night, Rebecca continued to ignore calls from her mother but decided to open an email from her father. The contents infuriated her. "Rebecca, we have apologized publicly. But you also need to reconsider your actions. Threatening to call the police for child neglect is excessive. We just wanted you to look after the children for a few days. Your overreaction has embarrassed the entire family. I will no longer allow you to attend family gatherings, Dad. After reading this email, Rebecca's anger reached its peak. They had apologized superficially, but in reality, they continued to blame her and even tried to exclude her from the family. She immediately called her grandfather. "Grandpa, Dad just sent me this email." Her grandfather was visibly angry upon hearing about the email. "This is unacceptable. They haven't learned anything. Rebecca, you should consult with a lawyer. This is harassment." Encouraged by her grandfather's advice, Rebecca met with a family law attorney the next day. The lawyer listened carefully to her situation and pointed out that the issues were more serious than Rebecca had initially thought. "Mizu Manning, this isn't just a simple family dispute," attorney Vanessa Gale said. "The behavior of your parents and aunt and uncle can be considered psychological harassment. Especially, the defamation on social media against you could potentially be libelous." "Should I really sue?" Rebecca asked. "Let's start by sending them a warning letter. We'll notify them that if they continue this harassment, legal action will be taken." Rebecca agreed, and the lawyer sent a formal warning to her parents, Aunt Sandra, and Uncle Richard. However, this action further escalated the situation. After receiving the warning letter, Debbie became even more aggressive. She posted on social media that Rebecca was an ungrateful daughter trying to sue her family. James described Rebecca as emotionally unstable and stated that her claims were exaggerated. Sandra and Richard joined in, criticizing Rebecca for always seeking attention and claiming her story was a complete fabrication. These posts were the last straw for Rebecca. She consulted with her lawyer again and decided to file a lawsuit for defamation and emotional distress. "Mizu Manning, I understand this decision isn't easy," Attorney Gale said kindly, "but it's necessary to protect you." On the day the lawsuit was filed, Rebecca was overwhelmed with mixed emotions. She loved her family, but their actions were unforgivable. This was not just a one-time event, but a pattern of exploitation and lack of respect that had gone on for years. Her grandparents fully supported Rebecca's decision. They even offered to testify on her behalf in court. Nicole, Chris, and Alex were too young to fully understand the situation, but Rebecca continued to communicate with them, showing her love. The legal proceedings lasted for months. During this time, Rebecca's family relationships completely fractured. Her parents, Aunt Sandra and Uncle Richard cut off contact with her, while the rest of the family was forced to take sides. Many relatives sided with her parents due to family unity, but her grandparents and a few cousins supported Rebecca. The trial progressed more quickly than expected. Rebecca's lawyer clearly presented the long-term pattern, the Christmas incident, and the subsequent harassment on social media. The testimony of her grandparents was particularly effective, as they detailed the history of how Rebecca had been treated within the family. The most shocking evidence was the screenshots of social media posts by Debbie, James, Sandra, and Richard, and records of the insulting messages they had sent to Rebecca. These clearly demonstrated malicious harassment. The judge ultimately recognized Rebecca's claims, issuing a restraining order against her parents and aunt and uncle, and awarded significant damages for defamation and emotional distress. Furthermore, they were ordered to retract their false online statements about Rebecca and post an official apology. The court finds that the actions of Debbie Manning, James Manning, Sandra Miller, and Richard Miller constituted clear harassment of Rebecca Manning and caused severe emotional distress, the judge stated sternly. Family relationships should be based on mutual respect, and the defendant's actions have violated this fundamental principle. As she left the courtroom, Rebecca felt a complex mix of emotions. She had won her case and successfully defended her boundaries, but she also felt sorrow for possibly losing part of her family forever. "You did the right thing," her grandfather said as he hugged her. "Time may heal some things, but you always have the right to know your worth and protect your dignity." Several weeks after the verdict, the lives of Rebecca's parents and aunt and uncle changed drastically. The trial was covered by the media, severely damaging their reputation in the community. James lost the trust of his colleagues and was pushed into early retirement from the company where he had worked for 35 years. Debbie was asked to resign from her position in the PTA and completely lost her standing in the community she belonged to. The couple became socially isolated and began living a life far from their previous luxuries. The small store run by Sandra and Richard saw a decline in customers, and they began facing financial difficulties. The poor reputation from social media spilled over into the offline world, and one by one, their regular customers left. Within 6 months, they were forced to close the store. They fell behind on their mortgage and eventually had to move to a cheaper apartment in the suburbs. Rebecca maintained a careful relationship with her grandparents and the children, but had no contact with her parents or aunt and uncle. When Nicole turned 18, she left her parents' house and moved in with Rebecca. Chris and Alex gradually began to distance themselves from their parents as well. Their care, it seemed, had been left to outside babysitters since Rebecca left. 10 years later, Rebecca had a successful career and was surrounded by her true family, her husband and daughter she had chosen herself. She had gained her freedom for the first time by breaking away from her biological family. Occasionally, the pain of the past would hit her, but each time, she reassured herself that her choices were right. "I have no place in my life for those who treated me like a tool," she told her therapist. "It might sound harsh, but it was necessary to protect myself." The wounds inflicted by her family never fully healed, but Rebecca continued to walk her path with pride. The fate of her parents and her aunt and uncle served as a harsh lesson to those who continuously exploit others.